Hello and welcome to John's Fiddle Lessons at BluegrassDaddy.com. Today we're doing a beginning video on Amazing Grace, and this is to accompany our lesson on learning to read tablature. And so in Amazing Grace we're going to learn how to read these notes in tablature, and there are a few more things that we'll talk about, such as tied notes and repeats and endings. And so we're going to play this song in the key of C. And now, as you see at the bottom of the screen, our tablature appears. And this is the same tablature that you download from BluegrassDaddy.com when you go to the Amazing Grace post. And so as I give the lesson, you'll be able to see my fingerboard and the fiddle up above. You see the tape on my bow. You can tell if I'm going down or up by the direction of the tape on the bow. And then you can follow along with our tablature. So let's begin. First of all, on the left, you can see this song is in 3/4 time. This is a waltz beat, so-called, and for every measure, it gets 3 full beats, so 3/4 notes per measure. Again, on the left, you can see the E, A, D, G corresponding to the strings of the fiddle. Now, commonly in a tune, the song doesn't actually begin on the first measure. It begins a little before that to give the dancers or the other musicians time to join in, maybe the singers. And so in this case, the song begins on what is called a pickup measure. The pickup measure is not numbered with the other measures. It's called the pickup, and you see it begins with an G open. It sounds like this. G string open. And now what I'm going to do is play this entire line. You see the pickup measure, just the G open, then 2 full measures. These are measures 1 and 2. So let me play it so you can hear what it sounds like, and then we will play it slowly together. All right, so here we go. 1, 2. So you see on the first measure, after the pickup note, we start with a 3rd finger on the G string. It goes, that is a half note, so it gets 2 beats, 3, 2, and then it's followed by 2 eighth notes, 1st finger D, and then back to 3rd finger G. So if I counted off that measure, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3. So that's the sound of a half note and then 2 eighth notes. Now the next measure, measure 2, we have the 1st finger playing the D string for a half note and then open for a 1/4 note. And that gives us the 3 beats of that measure. So here's what that measure sounds like just by itself. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Okay, I was counting beats for the notes. 1st finger at D and then D open. So let's play that entire first line, starting with the pickup measure. 1, a little slower than I demonstrated it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, D1, O. Good. Now as we play this, you won't necessarily always hear the timing the way you would like, but the next video in the series will be to play this slowly with the metronome, and that way you can get it really hammered out, get the correct rhythms. All right, let's scroll up to the next line here. Now you see in the upper left, we're starting with measure 3. And so we've played a pickup measure, the first 2 measures, and now we begin with the 3rd measure. I won't always tell you this. This is a practice video to learn the tablature. And so let me play the 3rd and 4th measures. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and so as you can see there, you've got the G3 is a half note, then G1 is a quarter note. And again, in the fourth measure, G open is a half note, and G open again as a quarter. Now, in the tablature, it's hard to tell there that's going from a half to a quarter, so that's something that you just have to look at. When it's down there on the G string, the sign for the half is really about the same size as the sign for a quarter. So in this case, you have to do a little bit of listening by ear. So let's play that together. 1, 2, 3, 3, G1 open, O. And I'm not really telling you which way to go with the bowing, because on a slow song like Amazing Grace, it doesn't matter which way the bowing goes. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about right now. All right, now we're scrolling down to the fifth measure of the song. Now on the fifth measure of the song, we're going to start with the third finger on the G string. And so here we go. I'll play it for a demonstration, then we'll come back and do it together. Starts with a half note and then 2/8 to make our full 3 beats. The same for the fifth and sixth measures. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's play that together a little slower. 1, 2, 3. G3, D1, G3, D1, D open, D1. So those eighth notes are a little quick. Let's scroll on down to the seventh measure. And we see here above the seventh measure that we're changing. The guitar is playing a G chord, and we're going to begin with our third finger on the D string. And you see that this is a tied note, and so it ties together with the first note of the eighth measure. And so as you're looking at it right there, there is no finger position, but you can see that there is a half note at the beginning of the eighth measure, and above it there's some instructions there, tied note. That's not always going to be there, but for this beginner lesson, it lets you know that note continues to tie. So the 3 gets 3 beats, 3 full beats of the seventh measure, and then also the first 2 beats of the eighth measure. That means this gets actually 5 beats. Then for the last beat of the eighth measure, we're going to play a D1. So here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, D3, 2, 3, 4, 5, D1. So I see how I counted out 5 beats. All right, let's play that one together. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And so when it's played slowly, sometimes it's hard to hold that bow for that long. So just go long and slow with that down bow or up bow, whichever you happen to be playing. Let's scroll on down to the ninth measure. Now the ninth measure, again, is the third finger of the D string, and it's a dotted quarter. So this gets actually 1.5 beats. Then the other 1.5 beats come from those 3 eighth notes at the end. The 1, 3, 1 are all eighth notes. See the little check mark under the 1 of the ninth measure? That means that it's a standalone eighth note. It's not tied to any other eighth note like the 3 and the 1. Then in the 10th measure, you have a half note and a quarter note on the G string, 3 to 0, that finishes out our 3 beats of the 10th measure. Let me play it for you. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Oh. And you'll hear how that pulls together with the timing when we play it in a few minutes with the metronome on the next video. So here we go, ninth measure together. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. Oh. Very Very good. Let's scroll down to the 11th measure. 11th measure starts with another dotted quarter note. And so it's the same timing pattern as the 9th measure was above. And so is the 10th as well. Let me play that so you can hear what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3. 1, 3, 3, 1, oh, oh. And again, the bowing is not important right now. Let's play it together. First finger G, a little slower. 1, 2, 3. 1, 3, 3, 1, oh. And that was all on the G string. Moving down now to the 13th measure, we're going to start again, you can see, on the G string of the 3rd finger. And we're going to play a half note followed by 2/8. So that'll be our 3 beats for the measure. And then on the 14th measure, we have a half and a quarter for those 3 beats. So beginning with G, 3rd finger, let me demonstrate. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's play that all together. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, D open. And if you're following along with the colors, remember that 3s are blue, 1s are yellow, and 2s are red. In between there you have the 1 low, the 2 low, the 3 high or 4 low, and then the 4 is orange. Let's scroll on down to the 15th measure. Now this is the last measure of this song, and you see there are 3 measures on this line. And so it's time to talk about endings and repeats. This is actually a song that we're going to repeat twice. We play 16 measures, then go back to the first measure, not the pickup measure, but the first measure of the song, and repeat. So what we see here is the 15th measure. It's G, it's a 3 for a half note, and then a 1/4 on the G. And then we see the first ending. Now the first ending of the song has a repeat at the end of it. It is the colon looking sign, the 2 dots, followed by a dark slash, dark vertical slash. And that means you bounce back up to where we saw the open repeat at the beginning of the first measure. If you remember back up there, if you glance back up your tablature to measure 1, the first full measure, you'll see that's where we're going to bounce right back up to. So we're not going to play the second ending. We're going to go back to the first measure and come back down to here. So let me play this. It's a pretty simple part, and you'll hear me bounce back up to the beginning of the first measure. And just follow along visually with your tablature as I play. And when we get to the end of that, I'm going to be back down here to measure 15, and that's where we're going to stop again. So here we go. Starting with measure 15, and we're going to come back to measure 15. 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. First ending, first measure, 1, 3, 1, oh. Third measure, 3, 1, oh. This is the long tied note. Eleventh measure. Thirteenth measure, 3, 1, 3, 1. Here we're back at the 15th measure. Now the second ending. And so as you see there, back here at the 15th measure, we went 3, 1, jumped over that first ending and played what is the 17th measure, or the very ending of the song, 3. And so that's Amazing Grace. Now we also have this tab in the key of G. And you'll find that amazingly easy, because in order to play it in G, you might have noticed that this entire song was played on the G, D, and A strings. When I move it up to the key of G, that's a fifth higher than C, where we are now, and that means we can raise everything up by one string, and to play in the key of G, you play these same notes, only on the D, A, and E strings instead of the G, D, and E strings. And so I'll give a quick demonstration of that. If we're back at the first measure, instead of going 3, 1, 3, 1, on the G and D strings, we play those same notes on the on the D and A strings. So start with a pickup measure here, except this time on the D open. 3, 1, 3, 1, oh. And there you go. You've got the whole song in the key of G. And then also, if you want to play it in the key of D, well, that's easy. Instead of starting with the D string open, you'll start with the A string open. 3, 1, 3, 1, oh. And you can play the entire song in the key of D. So in actuality, you've actually learned this song in 3 different keys just by starting on a different string. So that's one neat thing about tablature. You can easily transpose it up to another string if you have enough clearance up there. A song like this that really only uses 2 strings, you can move it around a bit. So here we have Amazing Grace in the key of C, also G, and you can also play it in the key of D. Our next video is slowly with the metronome, and in that video we're going to really nail down the timing. So I'll see you there.